Welcome everyone to the last week of the Practical R+Git Workflow for Scientists workshops. As I have done the last few years, my last lecture tends to be something that's a bit less polished for me. I'm trying to push my own learning skills, and this is definitely the case for today. I'm going to be showing you Quarto, giving you a demo of that. I've seen Quarto for a while, but last week I was at the RStudio conference and had the opportunity to go to quite a few Quarto talks, and I'm really loving it. It solves a lot of the problems that we faced when using R Markdown for reports and things like cross-references and portability across different formats, those kind of things. So it's making those things work a lot better. So let's see here. So you scroll down. Oh, that comes up okay. Great. So today I'm going to be talking about using Markdown for government reports, the sort of things that you all on this call likely are very involved with. I'm definitely involved with creating big government reports, lots of data, lots of figures, lots of tables. And one of the things that is really especially hard, I have found with creating these big government reports, is that we're getting data updates fairly regularly. And then we have to update all our tables, all our figures. And if you don't automate that process, it will require tons and tons of time to do that. And when you do those kinds of things manually, you need to factor in, whatever your error rate is, which probably realistically, in my experience, at least 5%, maybe 10%. Of errors that you're going to introduce when you're trying to do that manually. So automating all that figure and table and connecting that with your data has a lot of positives. So today's topic, I'm going to be talking about automating those things I just talked about, tables and figures, and duplicating figures and tables over a variable. And then working with, it says work templates, that's actually Word templates to kind of skin your report to look the way you want. Today's lecture is not a intro to R Markdown at all. This is a more advanced. There's lots and lots of information out there for learning R Markdown. And as I showed in my last lecture, you can always go onto RStudio and look at chat out of the way. Where is this? Oh, look up at the help and look at the help. And you've got your Markdown quick reference and you've got your cheat sheets, both of these. And these will get you started. And then also reaching out to your peers within your agency can help you because they're doing the kinds of things that you do too. And I wanted to point out that I have the first draft of this landing page, NIMS OpenSci. And this will give you an entryway into the R and OpenSci communities within NOAA Fisheries. So right here. So learning these things that I'm going to show, you don't need to do that alone. There's a community out there who can help you learn it and whose code and Markdown you can copy. Okay, so let's hop right in. We got a lot to cover today. First off, I want to start off with just an introduction to Quarto. For those of you who use R Markdown, you may be thinking, oh no, I've got to change everything. No, you don't. I mean, everything's just going to work with your R Markdown. You're going to change the ending of things, of your files from RMD to QMD, and things are just going to work. And in fact, today you're going to see examples where I'm using R Markdown files in my Quarto files. So don't freak out if you're feeling overloaded by having to learn something new. Everything you know already is going to transfer right over. Second big question is, do I have to install new software? So Quarto is bundled with the new version of RStudio, so you're not going to have to go through all that process of getting more software certified to be able to install it. Just ask your IT to update RStudio for you, or do it yourself, and then you're going to have access to all these things. Himnalini had a question about Quarto to build the vignette of the R package. I don't know that. That would be a good question for like the nymphs R user Google Space chat. So let's hop right in and start doing this. I am going to do this on RStudio Cloud so that all of you can play along and start building a Quarto book. We're going to be using a book. There's also just like a plain, like sort of one file, but we're going to be playing with books where we have multiple like chapters that we're putting together. So I've set up this cloud space. And so if you click this link like that, it's just going to take you there. And you'll log in with a Google account. It's already set up for you, so it's all going to work. After I do this little demo, I'm going to show you how I actually got this onto RStudio Cloud. So you can, if you're on your desktop or laptop, you can see how you create these files. So what we're working with right now is just the generic template for RStudio that RStudio produces for a Quarto book. So I didn't like have to know all this, that would not be fun. Know all these files here. That's not how I did it. I'll hop onto my RStudio on my laptop. Here's RStudio. Here's the newest RStudio. And if you go, so I said newest RStudio because if you try this and you don't see the Quarto stuff, it's because you haven't updated RStudio. So I can do, because I have the new one, I can say new project and a new directory there. And I scroll down and I say Quarto book. And then I, give it, I would say delete me so I don't forget. And then like that. Okay. Okay. That's it. Okay. Now I've got a Quarto book on my laptop. That's how easy that is. So let's hop back over to RStudio Cloud. I'm going to do it here so you all can follow along. Click on that link. I'll put it in the chat. Copy link address. There it is. Just click on that and you can follow along with me. So let's first look a bit at the structure of this is a Quarto project. It's a Quarto book. And what do we have in here? Well, we have index. We're always going to need the index.qmd. That is our first page of our book. And then we will have our book chapters. So here we've got intro. What else do they have? Summary. So we have our individual Quarto files. They're going to go into our book. And then the next thing that we need is this YAML file. If you've used Bookdown before, this is basically the same as your Bookdown YAML file. So the YAML file is basically the instructions that tells Quarto how to assemble your book. And it's quite readable. You can see it's a project and the type is a book. Now for this book, we have different attributes. We have a title for that. We have an author, the date, and then the key thing here, we have these chapters. So these are the things that we want in our book. So we want index, intro, summary. We're going to have references. As we add more chapters, all we do is we give them a name and then we just add them to this list, just like this. And if we wanted to get rid of them, say we didn't want that summary there, we could do that, get rid of it. So that's it for how we structure all the chapters in our book. We can have a book bibliography, and that's going to be really handy, as you'll see. And then we'll ignore this kind of for now. We're going to get more into this later. This is the format. This is the defaults. We're just going to play around with the defaults for now. When I show you a kind of a real report, you're going to see how you can start kind of skinning things so that your output has a particular look. For example, how do you use a Word template to get the right look for your report? And it says editor visual. So this is just, you can always switch between source and visual editing. I'm going to show you visual editing. Some of you might not have played around with that, and it's quite powerful, really nice. Okay, so that's it. That's the structure. Let's start editing our book. So if you're on here, you can go ahead and play along with me. So this is the visual editor. And so we can just kind of add things on here. And I want to show you some really cool features about this visual editor that you might not have realized are there. So where did that come from? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to show you that, Chuck, when I get to the report, and I'll give you some links so you can explore that on your own with my own repos. So let's say we want to add some material. A real nice thing about the visual editor is that I can hit the backslash, and then I can just sort of grab things out of here. Heading 1, okay, well, that might not be, heading 1, you might not think, well, that's, well, okay, big deal, I know how to do that. But check this out. What if I do figure? Okay, so here's my figure. Oh, cool. I could do a image file URL. Oh, that'd be nice. Let's get a Noah fish image. There we go. So there's that. To move this down here. Is it that? That's what I wanted to do. I'm gonna find one here. Oh, this is now getting too harder. There, that's not what I want. I just need a picture of a fish. Come on, fish image. About that. Okay. Anyhow, I like this one. Okay. Copy the image address. It's Noah. Should be okay. And then I go back here and I just put that. Great alignment. I'd like it center. Caption. This is a bunch of fish. Oh, nice. I can do alternative text. That's cool. A picture. Fish school. Oh, look, I can link back to where it was. That's probably a good idea. Maybe I just want to go back to here. Okay, that seems reasonable. Okay, attributes. Do I want any attributes? Oh, that's cool. Maybe I'd like a border. I could put a border on it if I want it, but I'm not going to. Oh, ID. Yeah, I'd like an ID because actually what this is that it's going to allow me to have a reference back to this fish. There we go. Okay, cool. Hey, nice. It's a little big. Let's make this smaller. Okay, cool. All right. So I have that. And Now, like maybe I'd like to go see what that source code looks like, because maybe I need to do something with this later. Big snapper, that's not red snapper. Okay. Big fish. Okay, that's nice. Great. Okay, so now go back to visual. And now I'd like to write some text about this. Big fish is fish. And now let's run through that. Oh no. I don't know why that was necessary. Okay, so now you see some really nice things that I have here. So it put this output to HTML, it put that there, and I've got the nice figure number here, and I have this figure link here, it hot links it back. So that is really great. And if you put a lot of figures in things, you know that this can be really a bit of a hassle to get that in there. And you can see it hasn't done it here. Huh, okay, that's interesting. When I work on my laptop and I input figures, it actually automatically makes a image folder for me, and it puts all those figures that I'm pasting in. It puts it there. I think actually that would happen if I pasted. I could copy an image and just paste it in. I think that creates that image file for me automatically, which I find a really huge time saver. Another cool thing about the visual editor is references. So within the reference bib, you see there are references here. For those of you who don't use the bib format, just so you know, like entering these manually is not how you do it. You'll have it exported from either your EndNote library or your Zotero library, or whatever library, referencing program that you use is going to export to bib. So that's how you do this. You don't have to manually put these in. Okay, but cool thing when you're in the visual editor is that you can do @ and you see it shows you all the references in there. Oh, that's so great. So I can just sort of scroll through and find the one that I want. That's nice. Okay, and so it's there, and that's going to input it. And I can put it in different formats. So this, if you do these close brackets like that, that's a different format. Okay, so that just makes your references super, super easy. And I want to hop for a moment onto my desktop and show you another really cool feature. So I've just hopped back. I'm not on cloud. I've hopped onto my my laptop for just a moment so I can show you this. So the visual editor will look and try to find Zotero libraries that you have. So if you use Zotero, then you're going to have this feature. So you go @ and let's see, who is the author? Let's see. So you can see all these Z's. It's searching through all my Zotero libraries, and it's doing kind of a fuzzy search on this name. So it's trying to find things that have Moran in there. Smitha, co-author. Okay, so this one, right? So I knew I was looking for a paper that Smitha was on, and I didn't know if I didn't think she was first author, but she was one of the authors. But this is showing all the papers that are going to have Smitha in them. And so actually I see, this one. So I click that, and now it adds it to my references bib for me. So, okay, so it's just like building that up for me as I work. So for me, this is going to be a real time saver doing that. Another cool thing about the visual editor, and now let me hop back over to Cloud. Okay, back over in Cloud now. Another cool thing is that it's actually really easy to move things around. So like, I don't want this here. I want to put this down there. So you can just move things like that. So it makes that quite a bit faster. So things like that. And then if you like forget any of the things, like you don't have to have quite as much Markdown memorized. For example, you might forget how to do display math. So this is math that's kind of set up by itself, and you can just do that and it sets it up for you. So, I can do, F equals some, if you're not familiar with LaTeX, this is the LaTeX language, which is ubiquitous now across the web because we use MathJax, but it's fairly easy. No, easy. One can learn it, let's put it that way. Okay, so creates really nice equations really fast. It's hard to go back to Microsoft's Word equation builder once you get used to doing things like this. So it's really easy to put that in. It's going to look great over HTML, Word, and PDF. Okay, so I think those were the main things that I wanted just to show you here. Let me make sure. Let me look at the chat here, see if you have any burning questions. Yes, definitely you can use your own BST file. Yes, you can use multiple bib files for sure. All that stuff is easy. Just do this here. No, not that. I did that. And obviously you can say, like you might not have it here. You might have it in some common location, and you can put that the correct location here. Also, it doesn't have to be in your project. Is what I'm saying. Okay, so yeah, and then for LaTeX users, you're going to have full control pretty much, like using your document classes, your things you need in your headers. There's when we get into the format here. I'm just showing one because I'm using a template, but there's things for putting in all the text files in the headers and in the body that you need. It's available to you. Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna hop over, see if I covered everything I wanted in my little thing here. Yes. Oh, I was gonna show you knitting to different formats. Okay. I showed you HTML, and let's render this over to PDF. And the document class for you LaTeX users that they're using here is sourcebook. Oops, sorry. Gotta get rid of that. This one, didn't like that. It's using the ComaScript one, but you can use whatever document class you want. What are you complaining about? Okay. Serves me right for not testing it. Okay. Anyhow, let's get rid of this. It's unhappy about me somewhere. I don't know why it's unhappy. Okay. Anyhow. Try again. Yes, Ben, the visual editor is new to the latest RStudio version. It's not unique to QMD files. What is unique is that, let's get out of that. What is unique is all that referencing, the making it really easy to do your cross-referencing and searching your cross-references. That is a Quarto feature. Okay, anyhow, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, I'm not going to knit to PDF. I didn't test this one. For the report, I tested it. There's something off in it not being able to find my image files. Okay. So I am going to jump. Okay, I covered that. I covered cross-references. Table cross-references. Actually, I didn't show you how to do that. I didn't really show you how to do the cross-references. Let me quickly show you how that works in Quarto. So cross-references can be a real pain. So what that means is like automatically numbering your figures and stuff like that and your tables and keeping track of those numbers so that when you move your tables or your figures around in your document, you're not having to go back and manually update your figure numbers and that kind of thing. That is horrible. Okay, so how you do that in Quarto is going to do R, and then you give it a special label with a tag fig, and here, plot. So here, and then I do plot 1. And then later, or wherever in the text, actually, it doesn't have to be later, I can do @fig plot that, like that. So that's how you do it. And the cool thing is it works across formats. So it's going to work for Word and for PDF. For those of you who needed to do cross-format work, you know that it was really problematic to get these cross-references to work across formats. And Quarto fixes that problem. So where did I go? So what did I do? Did I do it over here? Intro. So I've got this. Oh, right. One feature to know about is you see it said, caption, what is that? So it's got the right reference, but it says question caption. It worked, it got the figure, but it said question caption. What that is telling you is that it doesn't know what the figure caption is. And I think it's this. Yep. Okay. Oh, this is another nice feature. Like I'm new to Quarto, so, and it's got a lot of new like YAML, chunk YAML. And so this is the new way to do your chunk YAML is this $sign with a pipe. And then if I start typing, it gives me suggestions. Pretty sure it's this. Hey, come on. There we go. Okay, so, and then it gives me suggestions of what things start with that. Then I know it's this figure caption. And so now I can, it wants text. So it really helps you out, which makes it a bit faster to learn and you don't have to remember everything. So now I've got the caption in there. And I think I cleaned up the things so I should be able to render to PDF, I hope. Please render. Render. Here we go. Yay, it rendered. Okay, great. And so now you can see it looks all right. I got that. I've got my caption there. I got this in there. That's nice. And oh, that's so nice. It's hot linked for me, which is great. Okay. For tables, I'm going to show a whole bunch of how you do cross-references for tables when I talk about reports. Okay, so let me grab up the chat again. Where's the chat? Great. So Ariana asked, does the caption thing do the same thing as the caption in the R header? It's a little different, which is why it has a different name. And the thing is that by using this so let me show you. Actually, I'm going to use the Quarto style of doing chunk labels. I don't have to do this. I could put it up here. At least the things that are exactly the same, I could put up here, up in the top. So like label is the same, but fig cap is a new thing. It's not going to be too happy if I put it up here. But I can do this like this. No, whatever. So like that, I give the label. I think I don't need the quotes there. So if I do that, what that opens up to me is this, the cross-referencing. And if I use the old style with the caption, it'll work for sure. It's just that I don't get that this cross-referencing power. Or at least I'm pretty sure you don't. Let's put it that way. Okay, great. So now what I want to do is jump into a government report. So for the last half hour, on the notes for the lecture today, you're going to see this section of how I actually set up the Quarto book workspace and how I got it onto RStudio Cloud. And I have the exact steps. It's not hard. I don't want to go over it because it's kind of not pertinent to what I'm talking about today. But if you are creating things like this and you want to share them on RStudio Cloud so people can just jump in and work with whatever you have, just like you're doing today on RStudio Cloud, it's nice to see exactly how to do it. So now we're going to jump in and we're going to see a government report. And the thing that you are working on, it's very fresh. Thanks to Josh London for giving me a help with one key thing I was working on today. And so it's under the Arborist tutorials and it's a QMD report. And I've got it up on RStudio Cloud so we can all run through this together. Let me grab this link for you. So same thing here. You can hop on. Section refuse. Give me a break. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh, it's just my viewer. No. Okay, great. So I'm in here, and this is this report. And so let's talk a little bit about how one tackles a really large report. And I just want to give you some tips that kind of about how you structure things. And I would say that when you're going into a project where you're creating a big report, spend a little time thinking about how you're just going to sort of structure things. You know, how are you going to structure your folders and such? Get back onto the notes for today. So First thing I say is try to be modular and simple. So that modular means having like each chapter be a separate RMD, but also, as you're going to see, modular means thinking of your report, your tables, key tables, as either as functions, or I actually tend to write them in separate RMDs, and I import those as children, as you'll see. The reason that's useful is that, when you're working on a big report, you're working in a team typically, and people have different skills and they have different roles. So the person who is making your figures pop is often not the person who's writing the text. So that's one thing. And you want to try to use your code over and over in that, you're not recreating your figure code, buried deep in your report. You definitely don't want to do that. You'll just lose it. So it's kind of breaking things out and having your figure code or RMD or files together in one place. That's helpful. So that kind of modular thinking. And then also like definitely go and look at other people's work and copy it. For those of you who are at NOAA Fisheries, we have a very active R users group, and you should get on that. If you go to the NIMS OpenSci GitHub account page, it has a link to join us. If you're at another agency, your agency will have an R user group, or there's an interagency R user group also you could join. Second thing is, plan your figures and tables a little bit. Try to discipline yourself to think about like, hey, I'd like to share, like, don't custom write everything. Think about how can I write a single bit of code that could work for multiple figures. I don't want to be like copying and pasting the same code throughout my report. That's just going to make you lose time in the future. Put a little extra work in there so that you can either have a function, so you can pass in different variables like different locations or species you want to do, that sort of thing. Okay. And let's see, cross-references. We've covered that. It's a lot easier. Okay, so let's jump in here and take a look at this report. No, don't want to be, yeah, I'm here. And I'm just going to first start off by creating the report. So I'm going to go build so you can see what it's going to look like. And we'll start off with HTML. I'll show you the structure in a moment, but I want you to see the end product first. So it's got a bunch of things in it. Take a moment. Okay, so I'm going to widen this up so we can see a little more here. And we can see that, all this structure here, I didn't actually futz with the HTML format. So this is kind of the default format. And I want to just hop here and show you a nice feature that, for those of us who need to write reports with lots and lots of figures, this part is just being automatically done. It's reading in a data file, and then for each population, it's creating the same table, and it's creating this table of contents here. So it's creating all these. And you saw how long it took to create this report. Imagine now that whoever's supplying your data file comes and says, oh, hey, I'm really sorry, but all those numbers for this year, for 2005, they were all off by X amount, 10%. So I'm sending you a new data file, and you'll have to update every single table and all your figures that come from that data. I'm really sorry. And so you can see all you need to do is update that data file, and in less than, what did it take, a minute? For this report, you've got everything updated and recreated. So saving you a lot of pain. Let's go ahead, and I want to show you what it looks like if I build this to PDF. Well, I have some, it's complaining about something, but it's okay. It's still gonna, fingers crossed, will work. Come on, get it done. Oh, it's building the PDF part. Okay, here we go. Great. Okay, let's make this a bit bigger. Okay. So go here. Okay. So you can see, first thing, I did a little futzing with this, and I've skinned it a little bit in that I have put this special title page on it, because the default one that comes out with LaTeX does not look anything like a report title page to me, but I can skin that and create my own title page. So I've got that. And now you go here, and this is all those tables there. So they're all there, which is nice. That's great. Show you another nice feature up here. I also have it output the list of tables. And I don't have the appendix ones in here. It's just the one in the main text. But you can see this was automatically created for me, and it's got all the numbers are right. So as I move everything around, that's just going to be automatically updated. I've had to create these list of tables myself manually, and that was really painful and took way more word skills than I had. Okay, but this here is going to be automatically done, and then pretty sure I tested the word output. Should work. Okay. Oh, I must have a cross ref that's wrong, but that's okay. So let's see, where did you put it in book? Okay, so it's here, and I'm on cloud, so I am going to have to click this, and it's going to download it. What a weird name. Okay, okay. Hey, come on, open. So this is what it looks like, and so don't know why. Oh, darn. I was messing with it earlier. Now the table of contents is not appearing, so I messed something up. Normally what it was doing before I played with it right before lecture is it would have your table of contents. I was playing with this like citation thing, so I've broken something by doing that. So, but you can see, you know, I really didn't have to customize anything, and I get this name numbering for my figures. I also get this is hot linking, yeah. So this is okay. I'm trying to find a link to a figure where I put in the figure in the reference to the figure. Where did I do it? Oh, okay, here. You can see it's really small. And what that is I'm using a Word template to get this kind of look to it. You notice it's got draft across it. You notice it has the box around it. I've done all that by using a Word template, and I'll show you how you pass that in. And I didn't play around with the figure hot links, so they look kind of small. I'd want to edit that, but you can see it works nicely. You can click on it and it takes you to the figure. So some really nice features there. And let's go down and see how it did with the all those infinite number of tables. Hey, look at that. And they look nice. Wow. If you have worked with R Markdown and trying to output tables to Word, you know that getting nice tables is really painful. The trick here is using flex table which does a really nice output for our tables. And another cool thing with Flex Table is it pretty easily gives you control over things like your footers and your headers. And in this case, you'll notice at the bottom, I have this dynamic footer here that tells me the file date. I really like having this in my tables because one thing that I've struggled, my teams have struggled with a lot is we create all these tables and the data keeps changing. And then we're like, oh, wow, did that table, which data were that table from? And like keeping that straight is kind of a nightmare. But you can dynamically just get the last modification date for that file and put it on there so everybody knows exactly what data were used in this table. There's no questions about that. So this is not a manual thing I created. This is written in the code. It's just sort of dynamically queries, ask what the last modification date of the file was, and it adds that to the bottom. And you can see it's creating all of these just dynamically. So as I add more populations to that data set, it's just going to create more tables and it's going to number them appropriately for me. So big time saver there. If we scroll up here, let's see, let me get up here. Okay, this. Yep. So this output right here at the top is the knitter output, the cable output. And cable looks great in HTML. You can do a lot of cool things with it. And with you add cable extra, you get all these whiz bang, features, coloring, bootstrap, look to it. That's really great, but it's pretty awful in Word. So using the Flex table is still going to give you nice HTML output, but it's going to be a lot better for having sort of cross format. It's going to look good in HTML. It's going to look good in your Word. So this is the exact same table done with Flex table. Now it's true, I could have put a bit of effort and made this look a bit better, but the amount of work and hacking to get a cable table to look good is a lot. You really pull your hair out. Whereas Flex table, it's designed to work well with Word, and it just works pretty much. So, okay. So let's hop out of this and start looking about how I actually created these things. And hopefully you've been able to play along either during the lecture or hop back on these workspaces, and you can start knitting your own thing and start playing around with editing things. So let's look at the features that I have here. So I've organized it in the following way. I've got my text here. I've got my index. It always needs an index file at the base level, so I have to have that there. I don't have to have preface here. I could have put it in text. And I don't have to have references here. Maybe I should move that into text, but I didn't. So I have my text here. This is all my text. And the way that I'm getting the figures there, well, let me show you where the tables are. And then I've got my tables over here. And these are files that just have my table code. Let's look at one of them. Okay. So here's a table code. This actually, you notice it's R Markdown, but I'm going to be porting it into my Quarto file, as you'll see. So I didn't really edit this R Markdown. This is something I had from before. So I've got the code here. Really, I have, I'm using comments here so I understand it. And this is just the code that is creating that table. Now, it may seem like having your table separate adds kind of a layer of complexity. But I find that when you're working on a team can be really helpful because the person who's making your tables look great, again, it's different than the person who's working on the text. So you can have somebody working on the text and somebody else working to make those tables look the way you need them to. So that's why I have a different Markdown file for my different types of tables. And when we go into the text here, let's see how I use those table things. Here we go, tables and figures. So I go here. So this is for the chapter that, do I have the viewer here? No, it's not that. Okay, so if I had the viewer on, this is the chapter that's going to be labeled tables and figures. And this is how you import a R Markdown file or a QMV file, you import either one, into here. So I have all the text, and then when I need the table in, I just do it like this. And notice I'm using the here package to reference my my files. I'm not doing in a hard coding in a location. And that's because, like, maybe I decide later that I want to move around where I have this. You know, I move it, I put it deeper in a folder for some reason. If I did that and I had my file locations hard linked in, all that code would break and I'd pull my hair out. But if I use the here thing, I can move things around as I want, and it's going to be able to find this tables folder and something in that. So that's how I'm going to do that, and it's the same with this. Import it there. This is going to show you how you create your captions dynamically. So a lot of times we're not going to hard code in our table caption because we want to look at the data, and we're going to base our caption based on the data. For example, we might want to say the year range of the data. Well, rather than trying to hard code that, we just look into the data that we're making the table of, and we pull that info, and then we sort of create a, programmatically, we create a caption. So in this case, I'm dynamically creating it, and I'm using the number of rows. And here shows you how you're going to create that dynamic thing. It's different in Quarto, how you have code within your chunk options. Thanks to Josh London, I was able to figure out how to do this, because the usual way that we did it is we'd have our tick and then R, and then to say it's R code. But you don't do it that way with Quarto. You use this $ expression. Okay. Cross-referencing, I've talked to you about how to do that. Here you can see with the figures, I'm doing the same thing with my figures. Again, I want to be able to find my figures easily. I want some people to work on the text and other people to work on making that, figure look really good, that sort of thing. Okay, so last few minutes here, I want to show you how you can create tables in a for loop. So this is a situation where you need to create the same table over and over again for a whole lot of, say, locations or species in a data set. So you have a big data frame, and it's got a lot of different, let's say, locations. In my case, it's going to be populations. I've got a lot of different populations in here. I need to make the same table for each population. I don't know how many populations are going to be in this data frame. I know how many there are now, but over the 2 years we're working on this report, that could definitely change. So let's go here and see table in a for loop. Project, I've got it under tables. Tables in a for loop, okay. So again, I've got this in an RMD. Yes, I could do it in an R function. I personally just find it a bit easier to have it in an RMD. I like it for debugging. I can just run this file by itself to create my figure, and that just works better for me. So that's how I personally do it. So this is my RMD. When I want comments in here, I'm using this comment code. That's the HTML comments. So I've got that here. So what I have here, this bit of code, this is just saying the packages I'm going to need for this. And this is a flex table. I think the example here, I just grabbed it from the flex table documentation manual. It's one of their examples. It's creating a table from some ANOVA output. Flex table's nice in that it's got some standard output for things like ANOVA. So that's kind of nice. I just use that. And here's the key part that I want to show you is how you get that all your tables to come out in a for loop. So I want to go over, in this case, 1 through 3. And I'm going to create that table. And here's the key thing that you need to see is that this is the trick if you're using Flex Table. To use, well, first off, you need to use a print whenever you're working with Markdown, R Markdown, or Quarto within a for loop, and you want something to output, you're going to have to print that thing. It's going to be the same if you're using a ggplot. You're going to have that ggplot go to a plot object, and then you're going to say print plot. Well, the plot object name. Okay. So like if you had that go out to, object P, you're going to then say print P. And same with your table output, but it's use this kind of trick of using the cat there. So just be aware of that. It can be pull your hair out trying to figure out how to do that. We'll show you the example for the appendix. This is kind of a hairy example, and you might look at it and think, yeah, so Craig, I'm going to show that here too. So here's a little more realistic example where I'm doing that appendix. And again, this code may look kind of hairy, but remember, it's going to save me so much time in the long run. And also, when I develop this, I'm going to get help from people who do this kind of thing, like my peers. So I've got some code up here. I often find it helpful to know what kind of output I'm using, because you'll see there's a few different, things I want to do if it's HTML versus LaTeX. So I use that. And then at the top, I'm going to have my file up here. I could also do parameterized R Markdown. You kind of you could pass in this to your R Markdown, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm just hard coding this in, but I put it near the top so I can find it again. Here's how I get that modification time. This looks weird. I'm using Git, and that's because I have all this stuff under version control, and the timestamp on a file is not the last modification time if you're using Git. So just be aware of that. That's what you have to do if you're using Git. And then here I read in my data. I'm a little old school. I'm trying to learn tidyverse and all those packages, but it's hard. So this is not tidyverse. But anyhow, I read that in, set up something. So here's the dynamic part that Craig was mentioning. I get the number of tables, and then I'm going to set this up early, how many tables I'm going to be printing, and set what years. And so this is just kind of a trick for me. Instead of having these kind of things buried down in here, I'm going to set it early. This is going to help me for debugging, especially imagine if I had to like print out 100 tables. While I'm developing the table, I don't want to print all 100. I probably want to print 2. So that's why I'm doing this here, setting this up here. I have some data wrangling that I'm doing here. And this is how you get a new page in Word. I'm going to want pages between my tables. So I want to know how to do that. And this is how you do it. Do some data cleanup. And now finally, here's my function. This is my function for creating my table. This is in Flex Table. And if you're not familiar with Flex Table, or even if you are familiar with it, it may look kind of hairy, but when you go through sequentially, it's actually fairly straightforward and fairly readable. So you can see, here's my data. I'm passing it into this function that's creating a regular table. And then I take that and I'm going to auto fit it. So that means I want it to adapt to the sizing. I could do something else. I could have a fixed width if I wanted right here. I want to add a footer. So I'm just going step by step, all the various things I want to do. I'm futzing with my footer a little bit, get it to look right. Here I'm adding some more footer, doing a little more. So I'm just kind of stepping through the things that I need to do. And I just do them one at a time. That's how that works. So now I have this little function that's going to create my table for me. And then here I can get to the for loop. And so I am doing as many tables as I want. I could obviously say, just do all the species within this table. That's kind of how Craig's, his comment there, use length tables. So I could do length dat and do it that way. And so then I get the pop name. Here we go. I'm getting the table out from that function, and here's this thing right here. There's the key thing to get things to show up in for loops is that cat right there. And that knit print is going to print it out to HTML. You'll notice something else up here. What is this going on here? So in this situation, I would like a new page between these tables. That's just the way I want my appendix to look. Each table is going to appear on its own page. So the new page command is different in different outputs. So I am adding that here. So if it's Word, I want to do the Word new page. Remember, I defined it with that weird looking XML up there. If it's PDF, I'll use new page, which is the LaTeX command for new page. And if it's HTML, I just want to have a new header label there. So that's one key thing there. Actually, I need to show you one other key thing, and that is results as is. Very important when you're using knit print. The reason is knit print is outputting HTML, and you want those results to just show up as HTML, not to be interpreted in any way. So that's the trick there. Okay, super, super, super. I'm going to stop there because we're at the top of the hour. And go ahead and take your questions. Let's see how big the group is here. Okay, so 25 of you. Go ahead and unmute if you want, or throw it into the chat. Yeah, hi Kevin. Yeah, I haven't played with GT. I have, for people who are working with Word, I have seen Flex Table used, like that's the one that people talk about. But you know, these things do evolve. Perhaps, you know, it'll evolve to something new. Also, I will say that Quarto is working on, yeah, oh, that's great. Yeah, it's on the RStudio domain. Yeah, so I think it's, you know, very possible that they'll integrate this into kind of the RStudio, and, you know, Quarto is from RStudio also, and they'll integrate this in, because they're really focusing on things just working across platforms. And the fact that tables looked awful in Word was, you know, that's been a problem for a long time. So hopefully we'll get that solved. But I would say, you know, for the meantime, I don't know, Flex Table is pretty nice. But I'll check out GT also. All right, other questions, comments? Yeah, Ben, go ahead.
So is the pound pipe replacing like chunk options in QMD files, or is that you can use both, or is it just a mess of which one gets used?
Yeah, so QMD files, yeah, it's replacing that. I'm sure they will for a while allow you to use both. You notice that I am importing R Markdown files into my QMD files. I did not change those R Markdown files. So they are compatible. It's all going to work. The thing is that Quarto is going to give you a bunch of new things you can do.
Yeah, and like the big options and stuff like that, which is, or no,
yes,
cross
right. Yeah, so I mean, I just showed the cross-reference one, but if we go, so let me go here. So let's hop over to visual. What? Yeah, so I'm going to do this. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay, backslash here. I'm going to try this here. Do I have a code block? Yeah. Code block. Oh, my God. That was interesting. Oh, there's a bunch of. Oh, okay. Sorry. Now I'm trying to do something way too new. I'm not going to do that while teaching. Okay. Let's stick with what I know. Okay. So if I go here and I do pound and, I start doing fig, you can see it's got all these new things that I can do. It's not just that fig cap, but I sub caption, I can put a figure link, I can set, well, okay, that's new. I can do fig alt. So this is another nice thing that they're doing. They're really trying to help with accessibility and have that work across our formats, especially have the accessibility work with Word. So we're having to do less of the, going back and post-processing our Word files. I don't know what fig environment is. Okay. Oh, environment. Oh, LaTeX environment. Oh, interesting. You said a LaTeX environment. That's cool. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the talk today.
Yeah.
Guess have to see what happens if you do like a chunk option for like echo equals false, and then you pound pipe in echo equals true, and see who wins that one.
It'll probably complain. Yep. One thing that I haven't tried or played around with is that they are also trying to make things compatible with like presentation formats so that you can do like reveal JS as one of your formats, and it just looks nice in a presentation format also. I haven't played around with that, but that's on kind of my to-do list. I have been told that if you want to do that, then you should use the title up here rather than using level 1, because if you do title like this, then reveal.js is able to figure out what you want to do more easily. I can't always use like title in the, page YAML. Just kind of depends on what I'm doing. Yep. All right. Yeah, Kevin.
You were doing the visual editor stuff, which is awesome. You create with the visual editor, and then you switch the editor on and back off, and it broke. I've had that issue before where, I think it has one way of encoding things, and perhaps writing it manually in R Markdown is a different way, and then it broke my RMD at one point. So just a heads up, if people are switching back and forth, you might run into issues.
Yeah, I've run into that with math, actually, when I do display math and then go back and forth, and it I think it doesn't put the carriage return above the $2 signs, and then as you're going back and forth, it kind of like decides, oh wow, we'll just put that into the previous paragraph. So I've had that, and I think that as you use it more, you kind of figure out its quirks. The other thing that I've had sometimes is that Quarto, every so often, it doesn't happen very often, but every so often I'm rendering and it says, oop, no, can't do it. I'm like, I don't think anything's wrong. And then so I hit render again and it works. Hasn't happened that often, but every so often. Let's see. I think it was Craig. Was it Craig who was asking about the LaTeX stuff? I thought I'd show you kind of, let me go into my Quarto YAML so you can see kind of my format here, how this is working. So you see that in my PDF, I set my document class here. And let's see. Okay. I don't know if this is going to work because I'll show you. Well, I'm going to try it, but, and then if it doesn't work, I'll say why it's not working. Okay. So anyhow, I've got a folder with other document classes. So I'm just going to change this one. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to build. And let's go to video. So while that's working here, so the reason it's not going to work is I've got this special template here that is building my title page, and it's redefining the front matter. So I would have to get rid of that to use the svmono. Svmono is the Springer Verlag. Oh, hey, it kind of worked. Well, it didn't really work anyhow, because, well, it doesn't look that bad actually. Oh yeah, no, you can see it's got all the numbers off. So there's something in how I'm redefining the front matter here that's causing it to do that. I think I think I could just get rid of that. Let's rebuild. It should work. Okay. Yep. So in this case, I am just using svmono, and it's getting the things that it needs for its title up from here. So title, subtitle, author. I don't know if it'll understand affiliation. Maybe, we'll see. Okay, so you see now that all the numbering's right, and you can see that. Let's make this a bit bigger so you can actually see it. So this is the svmono document class. Hey, it looks great. Well, it should. It's from Springer, and it's intended to look good. So it's got the nice title page there. It's got our great table of contents. Looks just like a Springer table. Tables and figures. Does it have a list of figures? Oh, it does. Oh, that's because I told it to. You can see that it's got the formatting. It looks weird. It looks blue. That's because what's going on here is, let me show you. Okay. Come back here. Where is that? Okay. You see in my PDF, I have list of figures and list of tables here. So it's including those, and somehow it's confusing the svmono a little. So I probably, if I got rid of that, then it would look, better there. But anyhow, it's got those nice ones, and then everything looks just kind of like you expect. Preface. So nice. That was easy.